Welcome back everybody. Today let's break down the difference between a framing nailer, a brad nailer, and a finish nailer. I'm going to describe what each one does, which one you should be using so you don't mess up your project. So each nailer is built with a specific job and purpose. Using the wrong wood could either split your wood, leave you with ugly holes, or just not hold the wood structurally at all. So let's start with the biggest one and work our way down. Let's start with the framing nailer. But before we get into it, it's very important to know there are two ways to power your nailers, and that would be battery operated and pneumatic. I have a separate video I explain in detail the pros and cons of these. Check the link below in the details to check that video out next. So first up is the framing nailer. This is the heavy hitter. It uses large nails, usually 2 to 3.5 inches long, and they're designed for structural work. They're used primarily for framing walls, decks, fences, sheds, or any project where strength matters more than the looks. So the bottom line is, if you're building something where structural integrity is important and you don't care how big the holes are or what they look like, this is what you need. Next up is the finish nailer, which is kind of a middle ground nailer. The finish nailers usually shoot 15 or 16 gauge nails. They're smaller than framing nails, but still strong enough to actually hold weight. This nailer is primarily used for door and window trim, baseboards, crown molding, cabinets, and even light furniture builds. But these nails do leave a little bit of a noticeable hole, but it is small enough that you can fill it with wood filler and then paint over it. And last but not least is the brad nailer, the most understood nailer out there. Brad nailers shoot 18 gauge nails, which are thin and leave itty bitty holes. What this guy is primarily used for is just small pieces of trim, decorative molding, holding pieces together where glue dries, little crafts and DIY projects. Brad nails don't have a lot of holding power, but think more of a temporary clamp, not a structural fastener. So if you try to use a brad nailer where a finish nailer should be, things will eventually come loose. So if you try to use a brad nailer for something structural where you should be using a finish nailer or a framing nailer, just know it will eventually come loose. This is meant more for aesthetics. So here's the simplest way to remember all three. The framing nailer offers the most strength, doesn't matter about appearance. Finish nailer offers strength and appearance, and the brad nailer, all about appearance over strength. So it's important that you use the right nailer because it can make your project easier, stronger, and cleaner. And if you found this helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe. I'd be happy to break down more tools. Please comment below if there's anything out there that you'd love me to compare. Appreciate you watching.